So if you put this into ChatGPT, it's going to like die. It's because here everything's a lot more, it's less of a black box. You can take things through step by step, time or the expertise to kind of like fully understand the hundreds of pages in the contracts, but they need to find these like key parts. We're basically trying to make AI automation more straightforward in the industry, or automation as a whole.
So, hello, Steven. Thank you to be there.
Hi, Seb. Thanks for inviting me onto the show today. And yeah, I'm Stevan Lukic. I'm from the UK originally, and then I live in Singapore these days. I'm one of the founders of Civils.ai.
Okay. And you are working before working on civil AI. You were working in construction industry already, or?
Yeah, that's right. So I worked as a design engineer, like a consultant for a UK company called Morgan Tyndall, and then out here in Singapore for Arup, designing tunneling projects.
Okay. So you were more in the design part of the construction, or in the construction site part, or construction companies?
Yeah, so I started off in the design office, and then because I was becoming like a chartered civil engineer, I also did a site placement. So I was working on the construction site for a little while, for about 1 year, and then back in the office afterwards. I preferred being in the office, to be honest.
Okay. And so you created a tool called Civils.ai. So we will see. You will make a demo of the tool a bit later. But first, can you introduce us why you created this tool, and what problem do you want to solve with it?
Yeah, sure. So when I was working as a consultant, this was about 3 years ago now, before I left my job to start Civils AI. I was spending so much of my time just reading these PDF documents and doing processes like checking things, like a given a big checklist of some compliance stuff we needed to check in the documents, and I'd be reading through them like thousands of pages and needing to like do these various workflows, let's say, that were needed as part of my job. And I thought at the time, why is myself and all of my colleagues doing all these manual processes? Why is someone not like created something to read the text and the tables and information in all of the documents and like automate those processes we're doing? So that was like the very early version. But at the time, I'd only I taught myself coding for about 3 years or so
Okay.
before starting or trying to build the first version of Civils AI. And at the time, I was quite overwhelmed by what I was trying to build, really, because it was quite ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
So I built a very simplified version of the software,
Mm-hmm.
and then published it online and had some early interest from people, and decided to like leave my corporate job and join a startup accelerator,
Okay.
which is a bit like The Apprentice, if you've seen that TV show. I met my two co-founders on the program, and then we raised some money from venture capitalists.
Okay.
And then, yeah, fast forward to
In
today.
Singapore.
Yeah, in Singapore. So there was one of these startup accelerators that was based here in Singapore. And it was quite close to where I was living as well at the time. So I just thought,
Okay. Do you think there is a special environment in Singapore for example, for startup for AOC, or for architecture? Maybe the architects are more tech. They like more technologies than in other parts of the world. Do you think so? Or?
I think it's a good place to be because it's a very digital city.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a strong sort of kind of government agency level led approach to innovation in the industry, which is really good. A lot of like sharing events that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's like Hong Kong nearby where there's a lot of construction tech startups.
Okay.
So I'd say, yeah, Singapore and Hong Kong, there's lots of opportunities for construction tech. And yeah, I'm kind of fortunate that we started here because it's quite a good place to get some like product market fit, or to understand what customers really need. So there's a lot of like architectural firms here, and also a lot of consultants that work on like regional projects. So in other parts of Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Okay, so can you present us and me how Civil AI works, and what we can do with it?
Yes, certainly. I'll
And
just share my screen.
And also how AI is integrated, because sometimes people think with the AI trends, people don't really differentiate what is AI, what is automation. You will certainly give some insight about that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So with Civils AI, we use like a slightly different approach to one which I think is being followed by a lot of, let's say, AI startups in the AEC and like construction space, which is at the moment we're not really trying to do AI agents. I see lots of people talking about that,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a little bit early to really be trying to do that. I can explain a bit more why, but
Mm-hmm.
we're focusing a lot more on like no code workflows, whereby you can use like visual programming, natural language prompting to create like a workflow and to see how that works from start to finish. So we're taking like a slightly different approach, and time will tell if like we're taking the right one. But I'll show you right now what the way Civils AI works. So when you first create an account, it's all on the web. So it's a web application, and you can create different projects in here. These could be projects you're working on, or it could be like an ongoing project or a bid, for example. We help a lot in the early stages, like pre-construction. You can also create libraries, and these are like groups of documents which get used across different projects. So this could be like fire safety standards, it could be standard contracts, it could be infrastructure guidelines like codes of practice. So these are like building codes, for example, and projects are, documentation that's just relating specifically to that project. We spent quite a while building this search engine for reading PDF information. So reading across different types of data, so text, tables, even information from CAD drawings. We've been working on a few of these different things. So right now we've got this search engine, which is quite powerful, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
and fast and accurate. So I can type in here height of fire alarm call points, and our system will search through it. So it's RAG, so retrieval augmented generation. It searches across whichever documents are in this library. So it could be tens of different documents or like 50 different documents, for example, and then basically tries to find the answer. So it pulls
So
back.
if I compare with existing tools that people may know, so for example, ChatGPT could be a solution, or Notebook ML also. I don't know if you know this tool. How you differ from this in this aspect? Maybe it's the same thing, but how do you?
So there's a few different ways. So one is that we can search across like a whole range of different information at the same time. So you can group together like 50 different documents into
Mm.
and organize it into different ways, and we can search across all of that collectively. Another one is just on the quality. So we've done with some of our customers like benchmarks on searching across um, questions on like say ChatGPT,
Mm.
on Notebook LM, on Civils AI. And then we found for like construction specific information. So if you're searching like drawings, for example, or some complicated tables we use, our like extractor is more fine-tuned to all of that type of
Okay,
information.
okay. It shows that in the construction industry, there is a specific type of document of PDFs that are not lightweight, let's say that. And it's difficult to extract this information from this document. Okay, I understand the point.
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, one type of information that we've been reading off for a long time since we started the company is actually these geotechnical reports, which are quite complicated tables of data.
Mm.
So we have a custom extraction algorithm for that. So I can just show you an example of how we read those types of tables. So this is one workflow within a project for reading geotechnical information. So this is like information relating to what's under the ground on the construction project. And like in this workflow, we basically read these complex tables of information. So if you put this into ChatGPT, it's gonna like die from
Yeah.
trying to read this, and it's gonna hallucinate tons of stuff. So this is like something specific we use for reading this type of information.
But as it is specific to a specific layout, maybe that we use in Singapore, maybe it's not used in Europe or in the US. I don't know. So how do you deal with the discrepancy of layout of way to present the information? You have some problem to deal with that, or it's universal? Oh,
So there are some like edge cases. So these tables, they do change and there are different styles and formats, and some throughout the different years have evolved differently. So some are even still handwritten that we digitize. But the way we did this is we basically labeled a lot of open source data. So in the UK, there's a big open source database of all of these sheets called the British Geological Survey. So when we were starting the company, we actually spent a while labeling lots of data
mm.
in order to like fine tune what we're doing to reading this type of information. We've been doing something similar for CAD drawings as well, although CAD's a harder problem because there isn't as much open source data
Yeah.
drawings.
It's something I identify as well. The problem of aerospace industry is that the data is not available publicly, so it's quite hard to do some model dedicated to the type of document of drawings that we make because of that. And I don't know how to solve the problem.
It kind of depends how committed you are to solving like that specific problem. Because, like for example, with CAD drawings, you could get people to create your own, like let's say, versions of CAD drawings. Like you could pay for CAD drafters to just create you many imaginary
Yeah,
or let's say synthetic like
synthetic
blueprints.
data. Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, it could be a way, or another way that I imagine is that when you give, for example, I give a try yesterday of a tool called Agent, and with Agent or 11 Lab, you put some video of your own voice. So if you imagine this at scale, it means that many people in the world are giving some data of voice. And if we imagine the same thing for architecture, if you give a useful service to architects, but at the same time you use their data to train a model, maybe it's a way also to collect data. But it
Yeah.
will be quite attractive in the service that you offer, I think.
Yeah, we have had some companies which have said, to us that they're interested in doing like code development and providing some information in exchange for them, like
Mm.
also getting the labeled data sets or like
Yeah, yeah.
having access to whatever we build, like some for them to also like co-develop it. So there's a few angles like that we've been following with that.
Mm.
Um,
And so we talk about PDF, but there are also drawings. So you support the drawing or?
yeah, sure. Like the drawings, we're still in the beta phase, but we can read information from those. Currently, we can read off like notes, all the notes on the drawing. Like the challenge we have at the moment is associating like dimensions back to the um,
the
objects
the
themselves.
elements that it refer to, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah, and our thinking at the moment is that you can only really take it so far with the CAD drawings. But I mean, one of the use cases we have at the moment is around searching, like if a contractor or as some specialist subcontractor, let's say, wants to decide if they want to bid on a project, they'll query many times like the drawings. And it's a lot of information in the notes. Like if you imagine concrete contractor, it's a lot to do with the admixtures and like what type of rebar is being used. And like it's a lot of information which is actually in text on the drawings. So
yeah.
we've been helping with some of that.
So currently you focus on the text information, but you want to associate it with some element, some element like wall, window, this kind of. But
Yeah.
another use case that I had is from people ask me that, and I didn't know exactly how to say what to say. Is a surveyor in Switzerland. He told me that he has 70% of the project where the input data is only a PDF of the drawing, and he need to redraw by hand the wall, all the element of construction to make some quantities. So if you have a system to take the drawing and get the quantities, I think it would be quite useful as well.
Yeah. we'll get there eventually. Everyone like wants us to do quantities that we speak to.
Yeah.
It seems it's a really hard problem though.
But after I asked me something after we will talk about workflow and no code because I think it's important. But I think in this problem, which is most people use PDF and hide kind of hide information inside documents that are hard to process. One way or table, Excel table, Excel sheet. It's another problem. Also, many people use Excel sheets and they are difficult to handle by the AI because the format could be very diversified and it's not really like a database. And one approach could be to say, okay, this is the fact, we cannot change that, and we will do some extractor to extract the information and process it. And another approach could be maybe using an Excel sheet is not the best way. You should use, for example, a form to collect the data and get
Mm.
a clean database. I'm not sure exactly what to say to people because often I see that architects are complexifying themselves, their life by using this tool, and they could not use AI at all, but have a cleaner system and get some cleaner data. But I don't know exactly what you think.
Yeah, I think one thing we've noticed a lot because we're doing these like AI workflows is the concept is right that let's say you have a task like you're reviewing contracts on the construction project.
Mhm.
We create like a template for what that task is and we try and break it down into like, okay, what are the topics? This is like information you're searching for, like the scope of works, the payment terms relating to the contracts, and then some task associated to it. So to retrieve all the information from the documents relating to payment terms, and then to explain like when the payment scheduled, like who's the associate, what are the associated penalties if like things are missed, what's the total contract amount, how it's calculated, all these different topics, right? But the thing that we've noticed with these workflows after we build them is that you have like in a lot of offices, so like kind of going back to your point, you have in a lot of offices that there's one person who will look at this and go like, oh cool, like I know I want to customize this, I want to like, because we've developed it so you can even add your own, so all of this can be like customized to your team.
Mhm.
So you have like normally like one person in a department look at this and be like inspired to a certain extent by it and say, oh, I want to like build this to automate these different tasks we're doing. But then you have like 95% of the other people in the office are like want nothing to do with building stuff like this, and they just
Mhm.
want like a drag and drop box or something which like does the whole thing for them, and they don't have to like learn how to build something. So we found like there are these two kinds of groups. I'm not sure if like you've experienced that yourself as well. With what?
Yes, yes, and it's something that I was a bit not very convinced by no code, your no code proposal when I see it, because my experience is when I show some no code tool is that most people in my formation that are mostly architect are kind of scared by this presentation, and only 10% are enthusiastic, enthusiast, and know how to use it and so on. So I think this kind of layout is very powerful. I know the advantage of it, but it could sound complicated for some people. This is a drawback. And on the other hand, people are doing some long prompt in ChatGPT. So you could do maybe something similar with a long prompt, but I think your approach is much more structured and you can have a better result with your approach. But for many people, it's more simple to just write in English or in text a long prompt to define exactly what they want. So this is one side, and another part is in this workflows of contract creation. If I understand well, so you define the chapter of the contract, and after you have a kind of prompt for each chapter that will generate this chapter when you execute the prompt. Is the workflow? Is that?
It, or kind of almost like, so the concept is that you select which contract documents. So this is a project, like a dummy project I've created. And in this case, I can select the contracts which are actually you know, part of this project. So I can reference and select both of these two and confirm those. And so this is like reference information that I'm using in the workflow. And then what I'm doing here is I'm like reviewing it, because a lot of people don't really have the time or the expertise to kind of like fully understand the hundreds of pages in the contracts, but they need to find these like key parts, which like LLMs are quite good at doing, like for searching and like summarizing information. So the concept here is like you set this up, you hit run. It takes like 30 seconds or so to run this workflow. And then when it's done, you have your outputs, which basically take you through step by step all of those different topics. So it will explain what the scope of works are for this project, and it will take you to where that information's come from in the.
Okay, so it is to understand a contract, not to generate a new contract. Okay,
Yeah.
I understood.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are a construction company, an architect, you have a long contract, but you don't know exactly what's inside, and you want to make a church in one go in several topic to extract the information. Okay.
Yep. So like different teams have different ways in which they want to like review the contracts and understand if this is all acceptable to them. So for example, like knowing when they would be getting paid, like within like 14 days, let's say, or within a certain time frame. And also like how is the liability like spread between the contractor and the client. So in this case, the LLM can kind of take you through all of these items and create these summaries for you to help you understand like how, like, is the contract fair or not, and like do you have to go back to the client and like renegotiate it with them. So we've been seeing like some good traction with this one. People are finding it quite useful.
Yeah, so in Civil AI, you propose some already working workflows, or people need to create their workflow from scratch?
So we create like these templates for them to help them get started. So when they log in and create their project, they have a few already here for like bidding and also for these site investigation tasks. So we've not got a lot right now. We're just like focused on a few different tasks, with them being like reviewing contracts. So this is like quite standard, but it can be customized. So I can instead type in here some other wording, which could be like however the team wants to do the review. So quite often some contractors have their own checklist of things which they want to review when they're like deciding if they're going to work on a project or not. So in this case, we have like a call with them quite often to just understand like how do you review the contracts, or how do you make these like bidding decisions on the project. We get like a checklist of the things that they do, and then we usually build this for them. Like we'll customize this a bit for them before they start their trial, so they come in and then they don't need to like edit this as much themselves.
Okay. So you co-develop a bit with companies with who you work, the workflows, and the software as well.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Because like really we've just found it's like an easier way for them to get started than for them to, because not all the teams have the kind of digital champion within them. Some are a bit less like techie, so we try to help them out.
But once the workflow are created, they customize it, and they, as you said, they are curious. After they understand what it do and how it could be customized, they could make the make the evolution to the workflow.
Yep, that's right. So like the concept is that they can create different projects and upload documents into these different categories. So they'll have like specifications, contracts, site investigations, drawings, health and safety documents. We're going to be developing some more like categories as well. But then the concept is you can just upload, drag and drop different documents into these categories. Takes a little bit of time to process, like a few minutes for each file. And then once that's done, you can then run these workflows on any documents that are included in the project.
Okay, so how you will summarize Civils AI in a short sentence? How you will describe it?
We're basically trying to make AI automation more straightforward in the industry, or automation as a whole. We want people to not necessarily need to learn coding, like Python coding, in order to automate the paperwork processes, like checking and reviewing on the construction projects.
Okay, but apart from reading documents, you have other use case like generation or this kind of stuff?
There's a few cases like that we're looking into now. So we're like still an early stage startup. We've been going for about 3 years now,
Okay.
and still like not where our like future vision is really. But yeah, one of the things we're like starting to look into more is around like compliance checking. So um, taking, let's say, building codes, tender specifications, and checking like designs and checking like drawings and documents against the building codes and the specs, and flagging up where there's like inconsistencies, and maybe also eventually extending it into like BIM and checking like models as well.
Okay.
So we're looking more into like this world of like kind of automated compliance, where we can connect in Civils AI into some like Autodesk Construction Cloud, and just have different workflows in here for checking stuff and like summarizing and sending, emails every week to people saying what needs looking at again, or what might cause an issue in the future on the project.
Okay. But in the topic of code compliance, one difficulty that I identify is that there are many code out there, depending of the country, and they are not easily accessible with API. So, do you have the plan to make a data curation for people, for example, to make the Singapore compliance code uh, available inside of Civil AI and this kind of stuff, or no?
Yeah, that's why it's kind of interesting you were asking me about, is like Singapore a good place to be like a tech startup in construction?
Yeah.
Because I think for this sort of thing, like this sort of project, I think that's one of the best things about being here, is because I think compared to a lot of places, I think it is possible to do that here, and it's something we're quite interested to try and do. Whether or not it all goes ahead or not, it's like another question. But yeah, we're definitely very interested to try and like automate these compliance checks on the projects here, because like within Singapore, the codes of practice and the building codes are all like kind of very organized and like well managed in one like kind of central place. So I think here it is quite possible to do that.
It's possible, but it's free to access this data in Singapore, the code, construction code.
There are some which are licensed. There are some standards which are licensed, but there's a lot which are also like open. So I think compared to like Europe with the Euro codes, I know they're much more like tightly controlled. So I'm not sure if it's possible to do it with the Euro codes or not. We've not really spoken to like the licensing authority for those. But I think in Singapore, I think it is possible, but there's some standards where like we'd have to check.
Mm. Because I think people are just trying to do that. Some startup, but also some architects. People told me, okay, but why if I take the construction code from Quebec, for example, which is a single PDF, I put it in a notebook ML and I just chat with it. But I think we would need an actor that compile all this construction code in a single source, accessible with API and so on. If that were possible, it would be really nice to generalize, because now there is one actor in the US, one in Switzerland, one in Belgium, one in Singapore, and you cannot be worldwide with this topic. I think it's difficult to be
Mm.
worldwide.
Yeah, I think it's something we are really interested to do, like create that API for different building codes, because it's something that we need to do ourselves anyway, or to like tap into someone else's. But I think the challenges with like some places is that the regulators of the codes who own the licenses are quite like I guess slow to kind of to move on some topics. So I think the in some places like they're just like waiting and seeing what happens with all this like AI space in the AI space and seeing if they actually want to allow people to, you know, use these AI models on like their codes. Because
Mm.
I've seen some still have clauses in them saying they're like not machine readable.
Yeah, okay. It's strange because I think the regulator should be happy if people read the code and follow the code, but it's a
Yeah. Uh, I think with like tech, I think with these like tech trends, I think there's not, you know, with like file sharing, like, you know, music file sharing before like Spotify was around. It's like you can't really hold back the big tech trends. Eventually, like, you know, your the likes of your Spotify come and they just sort of like make it easy, and then people stop going about like doing things which they shouldn't be doing, because I feel like a lot of people at the moment are probably just uploading these codes into like ChatGPT or
yeah.
into, and you know they're not supposed to, but I think if they found a way of creating like a license where that is possible and you have to spend a little bit more on the license and then you're allowed to use it in whichever tools, I think that will be a much better like model for everyone.
Yeah, I think there is a problem of license in some countries, and I think France as well. There is a license you need to pay, but in some countries it's free. But for them it's only a PDF. There is no sub app. If you want to focus in one specific aspect, you cannot just call one specific aspect. You have the whole PDF. So they don't really know what is open data or how to get it accessible with APIs. They don't have this culture of open data. That is another problem. And after, there is the code itself. I think the code is composed of text, but also of images. Some texts are not so clear. So, but maybe AI will do magic with that. But at least we need to have the data, and after we will see what AI can do. But I think there is two parts. One part is to extract the document, extract the drawing information, and after, with that information, to query the code construction to see if it is compliant or not.
Mm.
You agree with this split?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, one of the things, okay, so one of the reasons I think the no code workflow angle is much better than the AI agent approach is because here everything's a lot more, it's less of a black box. You can take things through step by step. So, let's say in terms of your inputs, I want to connect this into some like ACC or some like BIM model, let's say, and then I want to do different operations like reading information out and doing different checks on this. To me, the approach of using these no code workflows is a lot more the way in which I feel like engineers and architects want to work anyway, which is they see things through like step by step and eventually they get their answer. With a lot of AI agents, I think that okay, number one, I think they're a bit temperamental right now. I don't think they work as well as like people have you believe. Like I've tried to use several of them for various things, and it's just like they work maybe like 40% of the time or 50% of the time.
So for you, AI agent is an agent that where you describe this specific workflow, and after he is autonomous to do the query and finally to create a spreadsheet or a document.
Yeah, exactly. And you give it like the APIs. So let's say for Autodesk Construction Cloud, you have APIs for like fetching the RFIs or fetching the issues so, or even like, you know, there are some APIs for like creating events in Google Calendar, for example.
Mm.
My experience with like some of them where I've tried to use that for like booking meetings from like WhatsApp messages. So you can just like WhatsApp some AI agent and say, book me a meeting from like 5 to 6. Um, it will book the meeting from 5 to 6, but it'll book it in like 2001 or like,
Okay.
you know, the 18th of March 2001. And I'm like, why has it done that? And you know, they're quite temperamental. So I think they'll get there eventually, but I just think at the moment the AI agents are a bit overhyped.
Yes. So here we talk about the difference between automation and AI agent, basically. Automation is where you combine a task, process, workflows, but you define the workflow by hand. It's fixed. It will not change. You can use some AI inside the workflow, but at a specific place. And the AI agent is when the agent can choose what to do and which tool to call and so on. So it's two approach, which, by the way, could be combined. But of course, we need predictability because currently there is nothing. Most companies in AOC don't use neither automation, neither AI agent. Do you confirm? Or in my experience, I see some, but they are very more an exception than the rule.
Yeah, I think it's very early. Like a lot of companies I think are in this like research mode. They definitely were like last year where we'd have a lot of like pilots happening, which were more just out of like curiosity.
Mm.
And then when you ask about the use cases, it's like also not what 100% clear for what they're really like, what problem they're trying to solve. But this year, I think it's changed a lot. Like we found that people are coming to us a lot more like clear on what they're looking to like automate, and they're giving us. We created like a form that we usually send as well to some companies when we're about to work with them, which is like they define exactly what they want to automate. Like if they have a checklist for checking some documents or drawings, they send us that. And it's like a bullet point list of like things they want to check in the drawings. And then we help them to set it up with like step by step. And then they can run it on their drawings each time or documents.
So the company you talk to, they already prepare what they want to automate by themselves, or you suggest some possibilities for them?
We have some suggestions, but also quite often people just come to us and say like, "Oh, hey, can you do this?" Like some cases, interesting cases we had recently was around like claims to do with like COVID. There were a lot of like disruptions to construction work happening, and now I think there's a lot of like kind of legal cases around the COVID claims. So like evidence gathering of like how situations like unfolded during COVID. So some use cases like that we have coming out, which I think are like really interesting, that we never thought of.
Okay. Okay, great. But I confirm also by my part, I meet many architects mainly, but that now they are a bit puzzled by so many options of software. They don't know where to start, but they want to start. So they tell me, yes, we are going to choose one tool, and after we stick with it for some time, even if we will change later. But they want some kind of choice, and they have the difficulty of choosing by themselves. So I am thinking myself about doing a kind of AI agent or something similar to help them find the tool, or maybe identify some process in a typical architecture company where always people want to do to use AI. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes not. And I am thinking about having a kind of form to uh, to 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 uh, um, to help them identify where to use AI, and how we can help, or I can help them to set it up. But for me, it's quite the difficulty is to is yeah. Sometimes there is AI is seen as a magic tool, something like okay, now I'm going to use AI, and yeah, I will just remove I will have no action at all. So they overestimate what AI can do.
Mm.
And at the same time, maybe the solution can be not AI, it can be just switch to another tool which would allow better processing of data, for example. And this is quite difficult to make understand to people, because I think most architects want to upgrade their toolkit thanks to AI. But there is not only AI, there are automation, there are better tools, there are even simple tools that exist since a few years ago, but that in architecture we don't use. Do you have the same experience?
Yeah. And I feel like one of the things is, you saying about AI solving everything. Like, I think like one of the real challenges with the second people see the chat prompt. So we've got like this search tool as well, like I was just showing you for the building codes. But actually, like the second that people see this chat box,
Mhm.
it really gets very difficult to control like what people's expectations are because
Mm.
so in some cases you get, let's say someone uploads some drawings, you get a prompt to like find all the problems in the drawings and fix them
Okay.
and download new drawings or something like this. And I like, how can you design something for it is it's really really challenging, I think. So
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it will not work.
we're
But yeah, 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 you're right. There is two problem. One problem is the fact that everything is possible, but you don't know why. So you need to have idea of what to ask to the AI. So you could not use it enough because you don't know that you can ask that. And the second problem is that you don't know exactly how it works. You don't know what is how it index the data technically. You don't know this technical stuff. So you over expect what it can do. As you suggested. And people get used to a one-in-all AI like ChatGPT, which hide the complexity of the model which is behind it. So
Mm,
when you have something more focused, maybe they expect that it works like ChatGPT.
yeah, I still really think that um the difference between the conversations we have like last year, um, as in 2024 and now like starting this year is just so huge. Like the difference. I think people have maybe spent like last year reading up on lots of things. Like training, maybe doing some training or like understanding more about use cases of AI. And now when people are coming to us, they're a bit more like aware of like they're asking so about this is like an RAG system, and they're asking us questions on that, like are we using like similarity search or what type of prompting is this, like conversational? And so I'm interested in like another year from now how much change there is again, because I feel that people are adapting quite quickly, and maybe with like AI tools it's not going to be constructions left in the dark ages as everyone else adopts stuff. I feel that there is a lot of people who are learning about this now in the industry.
Yeah. And also, I feel there is specific tool for health industry, so like Civils.ai, but they are not so much. I think the scope of what could be covered is still very open. For example, in interoperability, I have only Speckle as a name. In your tool, I would more categorize in knowledge base, AI knowledge base. I don't know why, because you just showed some example of church. So to me, I'm more identified in this domain. But there are many things, code compliance, there are automation in BIM. I think the BIM scope also is very poor. What has been done so far, especially from the big actor like Autodesk and Archicad.
Mhm.
I am still searching what has been done, but currently I don't see so much. I don't know if you agree. Uh,
Yeah, there's not the there isn't that much. And I feel like one of the there's some in the US, but I think one of the challenges with like most things in construction is that it comes down to you being like pushed towards becoming like a consultant with a lot of stuff. So we're doing SaaS, right? We're selling like our software on like a license, an annual license, but we still get pushed quite a bit into doing like more consulting. So like they'll send us a bunch of information and just say, can we get this output from it? Like we're trying to do this task. Um, and so I think there is this push towards, and I think that's also why I think a lot of people who start out end up getting pushed into becoming like consultants. And
Okay, so what you say is that most companies they just want to have the result, but they don't want to have to own the software and to manage it themselves.
yeah, it's like a kind of consumption model or just paying for the output. So
Mm.
they want a bunch of data putting into these different tables that they can then use in their other software, let's say. Like we do that a lot for this geotechnical data I was showing you. Basically, we just extract lots of information from these complex tables, and then they can download it. They can select like lots of data, and then they can download this as like Excel and other file formats like CAD data, GIS data. So we do a lot of this where we just are basically processing lots of data for companies. But then, people don't necessarily want to pay like an annual license for that. They actually just they have a project where they have like 10,000 of these sheets and they want to just get it all converted. So that's like maybe another reason is because people just get pushed into this kind of more like traditional consulting like role.
Yeah, but after I think it's a good it's useful for you because you have some real use case and you are paid for that, so you can work on the use case that are more that people need more, I think, at the beginning. But it shows that by the work you do is to generalize and to make available the consultancy to more people because generally people want the same thing out of the document is what I understand now.
Yeah, that's right.
And so now, just in a more practical way for people that may be interested to join your software, what are the conditions? It is free. People need to pay. What is the subscription price and so on?
Oh yeah, sure. So we have like basically free 2-week trials. So if you go onto our website, Civils.ai, maybe I should change my screen sharing. Just a moment.
No problem.
Okay, so basically, if people are interested to have to try out Civils.ai, we do 2-week free trials. If you go over to the website www.civils.ai, you can book a demo call with us. Takes like 10 or 15 minutes, and we can like understand what you're trying to automate, set it up for you, and give you like a 2-week trial of everything. We also have some like free training as well, which some people find us through. So it's like a certification for learning about different topics in relating to like AI in construction. We take you through some of the stuff that we like learned along the way. So that could also be interesting if you just want to like learn more about stuff. And then in terms of the pricing, we're quite flexible. So I guess like the first thing to do is to just like understand what the use case is, but we charge on like number of premium workflow uploads. So if you're running some of these workflows, some will let you run like as many as you want, unlimited, and then others where we need to use some special AI model for like extracting the data, like from these geotechnical reports or CAD drawings. We have a limit on those. But in terms of searching information, you can search as much as you want throughout the year that you have the license. And we also have a limit on the file storage. So how many files you can actually upload at any given time. But you can
you
download.
just switch to pricing page so that we can see your current
Oh yeah,
level if you have? Wow. Okay.
yeah, sure. So it's actually something like $49 per month per user. It works out to be. And yeah, we limit on these like we're actually more generous than this now. We actually need to update this. And we also don't limit on the file uploads. We now do file size. So we have a limit of like 500 gigabytes per year you can upload, and then 2,000 of these AI prompts, as we call them, which are just for specific workflows. Are the others are all...
AI prompt is not the execution of the prompt, is the fact to have a box with a single prompt.
Yeah, this should actually just be the premium like the premium workflows that we do. So we actually just allow you to run as many workflows as you want. But some of these, like this borehole data one, and also if you're trying to do things with CAD drawings, then we count those towards the 1,500 prompt limit.
Okay, and if you talk to so your client are more architect, more what type of client you have?
So mostly at the moment, like we work on a lot of like infrastructure projects with consultants and contractors. So within the consultants, it's mainly like engineering consultants at the moment and one or two architects. So I'd say number one group, but we work with quite a few different people, to be honest, a few different profiles.
Mm. So more the engineer, but working for contractors, no?
Mm,
Or yeah.
yeah.
And so I have also some. I meet also this kind of professional, but for them, what is the argument you tell them to the advantage they have to use Civil AI? What they will gain from using Civil AI? Can you summarize that?
So we outperform your like general horizontal AI because we've got some custom AI models for specific construction file types. So like CAD drawings, geotechnical reports. We're also going to be doing like integrations into other software like ACC in the future. So if you're interested to like set up your layer of like automation that you want to do with like documents and searching on something that's like geared towards construction, then I think we're the best people to speak to. Because we're very targeted and focused on all these construction problems.
Yeah, maybe you can quit your screen sharing so we can see. Yeah, but here you compare with other AI tool, but if you compare with the traditional technique, so to read the document and so on, do you estimate roughly how many hours they can save or this kind of comparison?
Yeah, I can. I can show you some business case. Just give me a moment. I'll just get that one up. Okay, so this is anonymized, this business case, but here in this case, we were working with a developer with some in-house consultants they have, and basically we help them to create like a library of codes of practice and standards. Um, so this was specific to Singapore, like 20 or so different building codes, so that they were able to do querying of the compliance of their designs. We also created them a library of different projects where they could automate the checks that they're doing. So this was helping them to answer RFIs, RFAs that were coming in so they could quickly check all the tender specifications. We're also helping them to extract like some table data relating to rates so they could process these variation orders. So they'd upload big tables of all the rates of different building components. We could pull that information out for them, and also searching as-built drawings for operations queries like floor loading or like use information relating to like details from the structural drawings. And then, yeah, over like 5 months, it was being used quite a lot across these different teams. So over 1,000 different queries. The output accuracy was 86%, mainly because at the moment we don't read as well on the CAD drawings. So in terms of building codes, I think we're about 95% if the information's there, we can find it. But with when you throw in the CAD drawings as well, the output accuracy is slightly worse.
Mm. Okay, so what I understand is that it's on the duration of a project. You will save a lot of hours. Maybe at the beginning, maybe you could think it is a bit overkill and a bit complex, but soon when you execute the same queries over and over, you start to be gaining a lot of time, saving a lot of time.
Yeah, I think it's just linked to how much the team adopts AI tools. Like if they're familiar with querying documents with like RAG, using these types of AI prompts, then I think the time savings are on the higher end of this, and you could expect more savings. But if it's just like one or two people who are open to using these types of tools, I think the savings are on the like lower end. So it's kind of like how techy is the team we found, like the business case.
Okay. So yeah, I have a last question. So your customer, your user are more people that are already familiar with AI tool, generalist one like ChatGPT or Notebook ML, but that want to go further and be more precise, more AOC focused. Probably is.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. Like that's one of the reasons why we created the training course as well, is because we just find um, there's a sort of educational element as well, and the more people start using the tools and get familiar with them and look for something a bit more advanced, then the more they're interested in us. We found.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. They need to understand the roughly how it works to understand why it is a good tool and important for them. And okay, so it's not a tool for beginner with AI, but it's a tool for already companies that want to go further with AI. I would say no.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. Yeah, I think that's a good conclusion. Although I've never really thought it like that myself.
Okay, okay, great. Okay. Thank you very much, Steven. It was a pleasure to receive you, and I understand now much better what is civil AI. But you have something to say to my my follower and the people who watch my videos, maybe?
I'd already watched some of your videos before this, and I really enjoyed them. So yeah, I think you're a great like doing great service to the industry with like sharing this knowledge and like dedicating your time to creating this content. So um, yeah, please like and subscribe, Sebastian.